Listen and subscribe to The Table of Truth on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts.
The other thing I think that jumped out at me is watching Naomi with the whole when she was on the Chesamoya, her ship, the ship that she bought for
the Chesamoka.
Chesamoka, thank you. Yeah, Chesamoka. So watching her go through all the crap that she went through aboard the Pella when she was kidnapped by Philip, and then watching that sort of fall into her time stranded on the ship and then making the space jump, as a last ditch effort. I agreed with you initially that she is very annoying. But
however,
having rewatched all that she went through in season 5, like all she put herself through, I should say, in season 5 to try to redeem Philip, and then eventually being like, all right, man, this kid's like, he's off the reservation. He's clearly his father's son. I'm out. I gotta tell you, it hits a little different when you watch it in a string as opposed to weekly. It's not nearly as annoying, and she becomes a very sympathetic character. Very sympathetic. You feel for her in a very, very different way. It's hard to watch. All of it is very, very hard, and it just gets harder as it progresses through, from the thing with Philip to dinging her boy on the head to basically knowing that she was going to kill him if she did the jump out the airlock, the whole bit. Then dehydration and starvation on her ship on the ship she bought for Philip. I'm telling you, man, she becomes a much more sympathetic character. Like you feel less like, you're making really dumb decisions, and more like, I get it. That was from the heart.
True. I could see that. I could actually definitely.
It's a hard when you on rewatch. It's hard to digest all in one sitting.
Yeah,
that's a good example of also what I pointed out. Again, she's still a human being in the midst of these extraordinary circumstances, and having to make these really, really tough decisions. And that's what makes that so impactful.
Yeah, but she still sucks. I'm just kidding. And with that, we shall start the episode. Welcome, everybody, to Blerdlines. It's your man, Cam. We're here recapping The Expanse, the last season. We're at episode 4. With me, as always, is...
Hey, it's Josh, a.k.a. The Cake Eater. I didn't know we started recording. I'm still eating food.
As well as...
It's the Professor, your man, D. What's up, everybody?
And we're here recapping episode 4, aka fucking Holden. Man, once again, Captain America / Boy Scout /
wow.
Their relationship, his relationship, he and Amos remind me so much of Bats and Superman from Justice League.
Oh wow, yeah.
I like it.
Like Amos is so much Bats, and Holden is so much Clark Superman.
Yep,
and they have those moments of philosophical differences that are great. They're just so amazing.
Yep, 100%. So at the end of last episode, Holden and Marcos were having a little dog fight. Actually, really good fight, actually, by the way. And then, our girl Bobby fires a nuke, and the nuke hits but doesn't explode. It's a quote-unquote dud. We find out that Holden disarmed it at the last second. And so now we see the fallout of this episode. And with that being said, I thought that was interesting, the way it kind of gotten, Peach is the one that finds it out. She tells Amos. Amos goes to him on some just like,
Yeah. And it's all through the beats and the mechanism of the overall structure. Because, naturally, the fact that, this is the Rocinante, and they just got brand new missiles from the Joint Fleet. The odds of there being a dud are highly astronomical, especially in that moment where they got the enemy dead to rights, ends the war, all of that stuff, or at least slows it down significantly. And there's a does. So Amos, the first thing he's going to do is check to make sure the others are fine, and to make sure and possibly see what happened with the other one. But as you said, he tasked his apprentice, and he's trained her diligently, so she finds even the things that again Holden wouldn't suspect, and they find out.
Yep, I think that was dope because in that kind of again, it lets it evolve over the episode, and so each person kind of has their own, like Bobby, because she's pissed because she's a soldier, so she's like, "What the fuck? I just did this miraculous shit, and then the last part didn't happen. Like, what the hell? That doesn't make any sense." Like that was dope. Yeah. I also like the very touching moment. Once again, Amos and Bobby were singing Alex's song, which kind of gives him again a clear, like, he hasn't been forgotten through the show.
Yeah, that was great.
And I like that they were playing his music, and they kind of commented on that. I thought that was really, really dope. And then even, like I said, Amos confronting Holden, because, like you said, Batman over here is like, yo, what's going on here? We have a mission, and apparently we're not on the same page. If we're not on the same page, why am I here?
Exactly. It's all about the mission.
Amos is like, yo, I could be on the moon smashing chicks and drinking beer, but instead I'm out with you in this fight that's not ours. And now you're telling me that you're not trying to end the fight?
Yeah. It's one of those moments where it's like, again, tell me now, are you going to do this every time there's an opportunity to take out the pellet? Because that's going to be a problem. And take out Marco.
What jumped out at me, though, is why, and maybe you can speak to this, D, but I don't understand why he didn't just tell him what his motivation was, because I'm sure, especially with his relationship to Naomi, especially, with his soft spot for certain things, if he told Amos that he didn't do it because he didn't want to be the one to kill, not only, Marco is whatever, but ain't nobody on that ship or anywhere else got love for Marco at all. But right. Philip was on the ship and he saw him. So to me, that would have been an easy, just like, yo, I spazzed. I saw Naomi's kid on the ship, and I didn't want to be the one that took him out. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, Amos being the softie that he can be, I think he would have understood that.
Possibly. Yes and no. I think there's a couple things at play. I think one, Holden being who he is, at the end of the day, he sometimes is a righteous bastard, and he does believe that the decisions that he makes are the right ones, and he doesn't care what others think, and so he doesn't feel the need to justify himself. And we saw that that's what triggered everything, right? With the Canterbury going back to
exactly, giving the protocol to Fred Johnson.
Even up to the conversation where Amos confronted him, he was like, "Yo, I don't have to explain anything to you." Which I thought was weird, but not out of character for him.
Right, and he said, and at this point, Amos isn't someone you can provoke to anger on petty. Like, if only time you provoke Amos to anger is if you put your hands on him and is if you are a threat to his life or the people he cares about. That's when you provoke him to anger. So Amos calls him out. He's like, "Are you are you upset because I called you out on it? Or are you upset because you can't really explain it?" And I think Amos would have accepted it, but again, Holden took that position. But I also think there is a bit of a side of Amos that would have still compartmentalized where they are in the situation.
True.
True. At the end of the day, Naomi let Philip go. He would have told Holden that Naomi let him go. So
do what you got to do.
This is a situation where we got to end this war. And so, what if the next time he's on that ship? Are you going to flinch then? So I think that's the reason why Holden decided not to, and why Amos probably would have been more okay. No, he would have been okay if he had just been forthcoming with it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he would not have been okay with the fact that he did it. Just for that reason.
True.
Just for that reason.
Because that literally could have not ended the war, but it could have severely helped it in general.
Oh, it would have turned the tide. I mean, it would have allowed the Joint Fleet to spread out to then go and do whatever they needed to do at the ring gates. And it also would have stemmed the tide for events of later,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's why it's one of those damn it Holden why we love hate Holden and why he's a great protagonist and a great character.
And then also it was a good moment with him and Peaches, where now Peaches, who's now taking the role of heart of the team now, because we don't have Alex. But I thought that moment was really dope, and I also liked that she was like, the moment I wasn't going to kill you was. But I like that she kind of explained that and kind of showed that there's a reason why, and that's why I'm still she's along with the mission as well, because she actually kind of believes and kind of agrees with how he handles things. Yeah. So I thought that was cool that she kind of let him know that as a just I should have killed you, but I didn't, and now that I haven't, I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah. I think that again, that's one of those moments where you see the real growth and progression of a character who started off and was introduced to us as an antagonist. And I say antagonist instead of villain because, again, she had her motivations. And that's the famous literary quote about literature that, no one's a villain in their own story. It's not even about literature, just, and so she had her reasons for doing what she did, and I think Holden eventually starts to understand that. I mean, obviously now that they're not at each other's throats, and so he's able to sit down and listen to her story. And the funny thing is that here these two are the irony of that scene, without having to be stated. Once trying to one to kill the other one put her father in jail, and now they're sitting and she's comforting him about a moral decision that he made, telling him, no, you shouldn't feel bad about not killing someone. Don't let them, despite what everybody else has said, they're right, they're not wrong, but at the same time, don't feel bad for not murdering a bunch of people.
What's interesting though is, in Clarissa's case, she does see herself as the villain in her own story.
Redemption.
No, she does.
Yeah. And so that's why she's on the path of redemption. And I think that's why she's working harder to kind of redeem herself, even though she knows she'll never be fully redeemed. But, in the small, every episode, they give her a moment that kind of just, pushes her along to get for that redemption. And and it elicits more empathy from the audience as well. So you're kind of just like, oh, okay, I guess it's kind of cool.
And I think it's also dually a device from the writers to say, do not forget that this is the same woman who killed an innocent man, the family,
man, woman, family, people
to advance her own selfish plot. She's capable of that. Right. And so that's the greatness of the character progression, is that we're not losing sight of who these characters are.
Right.
Even when the narrative is marching towards its finale.
Yeah, and then also now with Avasarala deal with all the stuff on the series, I thought that was dope too, because you have a reporter doing what she does well. She reports, but adding a certain level of empathy in terms of what she's trying to portray for the Belters and the Earthers. And also she sees the larger thing where she's like, oh, I'm not really here trying to convince other people. I'm actually trying to convince Avasarala that the Belters are people just like the Earthers. And that's the part that she's been grappling with for a long time. And I thought that was a good moment where she kind of let her know that. She's like, yeah, this is more for you than this for everybody else, because bitch, you kind of cold.
Yeah, and Avasarala is working off of there's a vengeance in her because of her husband, right? So she wants to end Marco in the worst way, and she'll grind down everything in her pathway to get that, to see that result. I thought it was also interesting on on series that we saw that Sangerini, despite all those things, is still pumping for Marco. It's not that easy. So again, it goes to the whole thing about, these are still human beings reacting in extraordinary circumstances, galactic war, alien threats, starvation, water, suffocation or asphyxiation. They're doing all these things, but they're still behaving like humans, still showing allegiances to, despite the fact that Marco left them high and dry.
Yeah, it almost felt like she was talking about Belters in general, not just Marco, but it was a Marco thing. But it felt almost like the Belters within Marco. So it wasn't necessarily him specifically, but it was also like, don't
how
trust,
it landed for me.
Yeah, like don't trust the inners, but we still got to do shit for ourselves,
Yeah.
So I thought that was actually dope because it was more.
That's what I meant more than the March for Slump for Marco is not. It's this. It didn't turn the tide of them saying, "Oh well, they knew who did the the Belters were not stupid. They knew who did what they did, but they're not turning on Marco in that way. That's what I mean. Like they're not still willing to share information or cozy up to the Inyaloda, as they say.
Inyalodas. And then we have our girl Drummer. She out here as a pirate, just doing her thing. She collected more people. They just did a raid on one of Marco's storage stashes of shit that he stole from the people.
And nobody on that show gives a speech like Drummer.
True.
Very true. The best speeches on that show.
She is the Captain America of this in the moment where there's a high tension and you feeling it, it's Drummer that's pumping. She's had, you're right. She's had the most just fist pumping
rah-rah speech
and rah-rah speeches of all the characters.
Absolutely. Hell yeah.
But that's another great moment in the story progression in that Marco, you start to see each episode is peeled back the type of asshole he is.
Basically.
Again, you see he has all these supplies that the belt could use, and he's stockpiling them. Now, obviously, he's going to distribute it, but he's doing it almost like a gangster, almost not like someone who's trying to establish an actual nation or government or anything like that. And so,
because he's a terrorist and not an administrator. He's making it more and more obvious as time goes along.
He's delusional.
What?
I said he's delusional in that he believes that he's actually the opposite of that he's a nation builder, that he's a leader, that he's this person that should be revered as a military commander as well as a leader of a nation.
Yeah, and I think that's actually pretty dope how they do that.
And I like and one of the things that I love, as you point that out, is his second in command steadily calling him out, but calling him out in a way
that won't get her killed.
Say again?
That won't get her killed.
Well, not only won't get her killed, but it's clear that she's still about the cause, that she still respects Marco as a leader. But she's also like, dude, you gotta come on, man. Rosenfeld has been great, and she's been a better and better character, and they've been inching her along as a better and better character as the season wears on, and she's giving her more of a voice and more of a role. But she's definitely yo, dude, you gotta relax, man. You gotta move differently now because Philip she went to Philip behind his back to try to get him back on track and yo, he's out of sorts because you're not right. Yep. You get right and we get our guy back. And that's really what's the most important thing.
And especially by not spacing the captain as he asked, and then telling him why, and then telling him why in a way that will make him look better. That also was and then when he's like, "What do you want?" and she's like, "Oh, I want Medina." He was like, "Wait, hold up, you want what?" He's like, "Oh, you deserve all this? That's what you think you deserve?" Okay,
it's classic 48 laws of power, and exactly. She's not trying to outshine the master, but she knows how to. She didn't lie. She said, "Oh, I want Medina." But you're the person that can deliver Medina for me. I'm supporting you to the very end, but we need you strong because you are Marco Inaros.
Yep.
So she's the person that would make a good leader, a strong leader, if not callous in some cases, but she would be a strong leader, stronger than him. The Talleyrand to his Napoleon, if you will.
Yep.
And so it's interesting that how that relationship has unfolded, and because he's been taking L's since the beginning. And every time he's tried to, and he finally admits it, he wanted to kill Naomi and he wanted to kill Holden.
Yep.
And that was something he had trouble doing, and probably would not have easily revealed in any other moment. That's one of those few moments of vulnerability that Marco Inaros has shown to anyone.
And in classic fashion, because that's what he taught his son and what he does with his son all the time. He tries to manipulate and maneuver things into, losses into victories and all this other junk. Philip was the one who called him out, was like, yo, we didn't need to go after Holden. Why are you wilding out? Like, why are you trying to play like we needed to go after him? Like, it failed because it was doomed to fail from the beginning. You set it up for failure.
And with Philip, I took props to him. I thought that it was a good building moment on his character because by sending him down to the skiff and he had to do, quote unquote, menial labor, then he once again started to put a human face in the actions that's been going on. So he's talking to his coworkers telling him about his brother and things that's going on and how they grew up on series. And if it wasn't for him, and so you start to see Philip be like, okay, small things of just like, okay, there's a big thing going on, but there's also the real life people that are within it. And then back to my fucking Holden, comment, they find the nuke that's been disarmed, therefore a freaking free nuke once again to Marcos. And this is Expanse, so that's going to bite him in the ass. And so, but I like that now Philip's starting to put the pieces together on some just like, disarm nuke right before I hit. Mom's on that ship.
Yeah, maybe Holden's not such a he's not the same brand as Pops is over here.
He's like, but go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, he's seeing that these things have been opening up to him since the beginning of the season, but even now, and going back to what you were saying about how they show those moments where you see how the people on the ground are affected. That guy's brother still being at the station. Philip knows that they left him high and dry. His brother. They stripped the station. They made it so that those people would die in 2 weeks if the Earth Mars fleet didn't help. So all those nuances are just rolled up in like 2-minute scenes.
Yeah. And then even the part where, you get to, Drummer's awesome speech. And so I think that was really dope too, because you started to see the crew actually starting to be like, oh, damn, maybe Marcos is kind of weak. And then Philip stands up for him. But everything he was saying, he was more saying for himself, not for the actual crew there. And that's why I was so passionate. Yeah. And so that's why I was so passionate, because he had to say all that stuff out loud so he can feel better about himself. But at the same time, now the seeds of darkness are very, very in there now. Before, Philip was wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, and now he's finally gone through the other end where he's like, wait a minute, this might not be the right team. Yeah. And then, and now, finally, to wrap this up, D'Angelo's favorite character did make an appearance, and I will allow you to kind of talk about why that is significant.
Oh, yeah. So we'll talk about, so the cold open is once again the storyline. And in this episode, the last episode, we saw the young boy Zan was killed by a Laconian, one of the rogue Martian military guys. So this episode picks up at the funeral, and everyone in presumably this colony on the planet is attending, the military and the scientists. And the character who I've been waiting to appear since for a while finally showed up. And you know what? I thought to myself, I was like, if they don't debut him in this episode, and this, because I read Strange Dogs, and so I knew that scene was coming. But I was like, if they didn't debut him there, then there's no way that they're building toward anything significant for beyond this.
Post
this next 2 episodes. But he shows up. And and here's the thing, they really hid that cast from the internet because if everything I searched, and I was searching, like trying to find out if they cast, the character's name is Winston Duarte. And for all of you, for those listening and you have been watching, and Winston Duarte has had a significant influence on the series and the story since season 4. And there's a moment in season 4 where Ashford, in 2 storylines, Ashford hunting Marco and Bobby and civilian life went on Mars and encountering the black market ring. But there's a moment where Ashford is they're interrogating a Martian officer, and then he ends up killing one of the Belters that imprisoned him. And he says, the dream of Mars is not dead. It's about to be written large. And so that was the very first reference to what we're seeing now. So Winston Duarte really plays a huge role. He's basically the next antagonist following Marco, but he's very different. While he's significant in the story so far, is because that is the guy who supplied Marco with everything that he has to do what he did. Like that's the person who masterminded the entire thing. And that's already been revealed just in pieces, but he enabled Marco because there was sort of a mutual thing. Like Marco would create chaos and allow him and his rogue fleet to slip through the ring gates into Laconia and do what they are doing now. So it was good to see him. I think the casting was great. Very much a regular just regular looking white dude with pale skin and green eyes and
middle management
and pox scars but he's a very interesting antagonist. I don't want to call him a villain because he's not that type of dastardly villain, but he is going to cause some problems for the main characters.
So no twisting mustaches. Damn it.
That was a very interesting scene, and you saw even that moment. That is the type of character he is. So
make a quick connection for me when you say when you said the line about Mars not being dead and it's actually writ large. What was the connection that you made?
Well, so when Winston Duarte's talking to Kara, he says that sometimes you have to end or kill your dreams to start over or something like that. Mm-hmm. I can't say that just yet.
No, you can't. Okay.
Yep. All right, that's good. Cool.
I can't give you the only thing I can say is that was the beginning of the seeding of where we're going.
Okay, that makes sense. We'll leave it. We'll leave it. So we'll leave it there.
Just to say they've been building since season 4 to where we're going. Yeah, I can't tell you what that means until I'll tell you what, after the end in the finale. Mm-hmm. We do this one for the finale, depending on what's announced after, it
wraps. Yep,
it wraps. Then I'll talk about what that means.
Yeah, dope.
Okay, got it.
All right, I like that. We'll end it up there.
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
Definitely avoided.
Once again, everybody, thanks for rocking with us. And this is Blerdlines, and we out.
Later.